Welcome back to another video about health and wellness and back to the channel. If you have tried to lose weight and tried everything under the sun and it's not worked, then this video is going to be for you, and hopefully it will shed light on the reason why you're not losing the fat that you're looking for, or gain fat, whichever one it is. We've all heard the different theories about it. Don't eat after 7 p.m. Before you go to bed, eat these certain types of foods, build muscle, eat clean. All of these are the reasons why you lose fat or gain fat. But guess what? These don't directly cause fat loss. Watch this video and you'll understand what I'm trying to get to.
Go to concerts with your great-grandchildren. That's amazing.
Beer itself is a tremendously powerful lever. And when I say a lever, I mean a chemical lever.
It's not that they don't get heart attacks. They just don't get them when they're 65.
That a regular gratitude practice can enhance many, many aspects of our physical and mental health.
I mean, there is simply no better elixir for metabolic health than being active.
So let me clarify something. Those factors might assist in fat loss, but they're not the reason why you lose or gain fat. So hear me out a second. I want to introduce you to something called the calorie deficit. So what is a calorie deficit? Let's define that first. The first part of that is understanding what your daily needs are in terms of calories. When we are in a calorie deficit, that means that we're eating less food than we actually need during the day. That would mean that we are losing fat if we are consistently eating in a calorie deficit. Now, if the opposite is true, if you're eating more than you need, what's going to happen to that excess amount of energy that you're taking in? It's going to be stored predominantly as fat. As simple as that, right? Now, the middle part is if you find that sweet spot where you don't increase weight or decrease weight, and by weight I mean the fat, then you're able to maintain your weight for the rest of your life. All the diets and all the methods of losing weight are always going to point to one thing, and that is being in a calorie deficit. It's just doing it in very different ways. But it all boils down, and this is the only scientific way, and I'm going to talk about the science and the research that was done, that is actually going to get you to lose the fat. So when I said that you need to eat less than what you need during the day, what you need during the day is a variable, and that variable is dependent on how active you are and the type of person you are when it comes to movement. In previous videos, I've talked about your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And having said that, we need to understand, and this is how we calculate the number of calories you need during the day, is how active are you during the day, all right? And that determines it. So that is usually the factor that people get wrong when it comes to understanding if they're in a deficit or not. Now, here's the kicker. It doesn't matter what type of food you're taking in. As long as you're in a deficit, you will lose the fat. Let me say that again. So it doesn't matter what carbs, what proteins, what fats that you take in what quantities you take in, as long as you're under your needed calorie intake per day, then you will lose the fat. Crazy. But wait, you're gonna say. A lot of people are losing a lot of weight on different diets. How could that be? Like I said before, the methods of getting there are so varied, but the bottom line is that they all adhere to a calorie deficit. So whether you're doing a vegan, vegetarian, keto, and fuck keto, paleo, bone diet, or, they're all different ways of getting to that product of saying, I'm in a calorie deficit. Everything that you see on the internet, all the ads that you see about losing this amount of weight, you only lose that weight because you're in a calorie deficit. Boils down to a calorie deficit. Eating less than what you need. So you're going to ask, Laith, where does exercise fit into this if we're talking about a calorie deficit? Remember a few minutes ago, if you if you rewind a bit more, you're going to remember that I said that to determine how many calories you need, we need to know your activity level. Exercise, and these things do play a role within it, not the reason why you're losing fat. It assists in you losing fat. Can I lose fat if I am active all day, but I'm eating more calories than I need? And the answer is no, because you have to be in a deficit to lose that fat. Does that make sense? Yes, it might mean that your calories have gone up. But if you're not in a deficit, you're not going to lose that fat. I don't care how active you are. If you're burning 10,000 calories a day, but you are eating 11,000 calories, you're still going to gain that fat. I said that there's so many ways that you're able to get to that calorie deficit, and part of it is the exercise or being active. The other element of that is your diet, obviously, and eating less than what you need. So if I'm going to look at this and say, what is the best way to do it, then it's going to be a combination of those different things. So it's exercising and staying active, focusing on your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis part, where you're active, you're fidgeting, you're talking, you're walking, you're going upstairs, and you're combining that with eating less than what you need. But I want to be very clear about something, that even though it doesn't matter what types of food you're eating, if you're below your calorie needs, you'll still lose the fat. It doesn't mean it's a healthy thing to do. So having said that, we still need to understand that eating high quality foods is critical. Eating enough protein in your diet is critical as well. And we're looking at health-wise, okay? But today in this video, I am focusing on how to lose the fat. And the reality is, it doesn't have to be a specific structure of proteins, carbs, and fats. But the reality is, it has to be below what you need every single day. So let's talk about the studies that were done. The first study is the metabolic and behavioral effects of a high sucrose diet during weight loss. Second study, increase the meal frequency. Third study done was a comparison of the isocaloric, very low carbohydrate, high saturated fat, and high carbohydrate. Fourth study was similar weight loss with low energy food combining or balanced diet. And then fat loss depends on energy deficit only, independently of the method for weight loss. And I think that's self-explanatory. I will link all of these studies in the caption below for you to look at them and explore them a bit more. But the one I really want to talk about is one called the Twinkie diet. This really drove that point home about that it doesn't really matter what types of food you eat. As long as you are on a calorie deficit, you will lose the fat. And there's another similar study that was done, I believe it's called the McDonald's study, where somebody just ate McDonald's but stayed under their caloric needs, and they lost the fat. And the Twinkie diet basically became famous because it really did prove that point about doesn't matter if you have pure sugar diet, that you are still going to lose that fat if you're eating less than what you need. And I'll leave the details of that study below for you to go into. But just to summarize it, basically, in 2010, a professor of human nutrition at Kansas State University wanted to prove the very same thing that we're talking about. And what he basically did was, he went on a 10-week diet comprised primarily of snacks, Twinkies, Little Debbie's, cakes, Doritos, Oreos, sugary cereals like corn puffs and stuff like that, and equally highly processed food as well, maintained that he was in a calorie deficit the whole time. So the results were basically he lost 27 pounds in 2 months and reduced his body fat percentage from 33.4% to 24.9%. The conclusion of that, a calorie deficit is the sole cause of fat loss. Even if those calories come from the shittiest sources known to mankind, fat will still be lost. It's not the source of the quality of those foods and the calories they provide. It's the total quantity of it all. So the purpose of this video isn't to sit there and tell you that you should only eat sugars or you should only focus on certain foods or diets, whatever it is. I want you to understand the principle of losing fat, and that is being in a calorie deficit. It doesn't matter if you're eating Twinkies all day. If you're below that, I don't want you to do that. But to have better health at the end of the day, and if you are looking to lose fat, which is one of the biggest reasons why people lose their health, is being in a calorie deficit, you will start to lose that fat. So you do need to eat a balanced diet, a variety of foods, the proteins, the fats, the carbs that you need to take in have to be varied, but understand that the first step in losing fat is being in a calorie deficit. And if you don't understand what that is, or where it is for you as a person, then that would be the first step in doing it, is calculating it properly and understanding what those quantities look like. But you've got to be able to find what works for you in terms of a diet that's sustainable for the rest of your life to live a healthier life. And whether it's paleo or whether it's a keto or whether it's a vegan or vegetarian, whatever it is, then you've got to understand that if this is something that you can do for the rest of your life, then you're going to be able to sustain that and live a healthier life. But don't be deceived to think that if I can do this diet for a couple of months, and that's one of the reasons why I'm against a keto diet, although it is effective for a lot of people, it's probably one of the least, or it's the hardest diet to follow or to sustain in the long run. So again, if you found this video useful and you know somebody that's struggling with their weight or doesn't understand the principles of it, then please send this to them, like and share and comment. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to the next video. See you soon and take care.